Good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with the Trumpet for My People. I'm very excited to bring this wonderful update today about 2020, the year of our deliverance. There's so much we are looking at and watching for the year 2020, and I believe that the usage of the word deliverance, number 2020 in the Strongs, can give us an amazing understanding of what could be the timing of our deliverance. Now, the important thing we need to understand with the number 2020 used in the Hebrew is that there's only one usage. Only one time is the number 2020 deliverance used in the Old Testament. And it's in the book of Esther. And this gives us amazing understanding based on the events that took place in the book of Esther. Now let us consider what we are looking at. The only usage of 2020 is in Esther 4:14. Going to Esther 4:14, let's see what this says. If thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Deliverance shall arise to the Jews from another place. This word deliverance is 2020. Is 2020 the year of the deliverance? This is what we are seeing. This is what we are watching. All the signs show 2020 is the year of deliverance. But there are two time frames specifically within the book of Esther. And the first we know is the Feast of Purim. The Feast of Purim. Esther chapter 9. Now in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them that hated them, Purim took place in the 12th month, and it shows us the day, the 13th day of the 12th month. The 13th day of the 12th month. Now, if we go to the calendar in 2020, between March 9th, the 13th day of Adar, and March 10th, the 14th day of Adar, and if we go as far as the 15th day of Adar, it is what is called Shushan Purim. Now, this is a key day in 2020. As we are watching the book of Esther and Purim, and the year 2020 and deliverance, what happened in 2020 on Purim? March 11th. Does that ring a bell with anybody? Is there anything significant about March 11th? You may not know that March 11th was Shushan Purim, but March 11th was the day that the World Health Organization proclaimed a global with coronavirus. And they began the global shutdown and the takeover. The annihilation of the Jews that they have planned began exactly according to Scripture on Shushan Purim. Can you imagine why March 11th was chosen? for the beginning of the global pandemic. It's connected to the biblical calendar, 2020, Purim. Now, let us look at the next connection in the book of Esther to the calendar in the year 2020. How is this connected? In Esther chapter 2, verse 16, Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus in his royal house in the 10th month, which is the month Tebet, in the 7th year of his reign. Esther was taken into the royal house in the 10th month. What was this timing of Esther in the 10th month? This was the wedding of Esther. The wedding of Esther in the 10th month. We've already shown to you why Purim was connected to the global pandemic, the World Health Organization proclamation of a global pandemic on Purim 2020. When is the 10th month in 2020? The first of Tevet. The first day of Tevet are the final days of Hanukkah, as we have been watching, December 14th through December 21st, the winter solstice and the midway point of Hanukkah. This is the time frame we have been watching. Well, the book of Esther and the deliverance that comes in the year 2020, based on the book of Esther, leads us to these two times, specifically to Purim, the beginning of the global pandemic, and to the wedding in the month of Tebet, the 10th month. The first day of the 10th month is December 16th. And this is our connection to everything else we've been watching between the two American eclipses. The midway point on the two dates of the two American eclipses is December 14th. From the first great American eclipse to the Argentina eclipse on December 14th, there's 1,211 days. And from the Argentina eclipse on December 14th to the final great American eclipse on April 8th, 2024, there's another 1,211 days. The midway point on the two eclipses is December 14th, midweek Hanukkah. On this day, there is a solar eclipse. December 14th, there's also the Geminid meteor shower. And 7 days later, we have the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. Hanukkah and the winter solstice, the escape and the rise of the Antichrist, connected to the deliverance in the book of Esther, the timing of the wedding of the Gentile bride. Wow. This is amazing how all of this connects us to the same time frames we have been watching. 2020. The great conjunction of 2020. The book of Esther. The deliverance that God has planned for the people of God. Deliverance 2020. From Purim to Hanukkah. It's also a 9-month period. And we have the completion of the birth event. From the beginning of the global pandemic to the wedding of the bride of Christ. Isn't that amazing? I really hope you're encouraged. I know that a lot of people are really getting desperate because there's so many things happening and the trials are getting deeper and harder and stronger. But God has given many people messages about preparing for the fall, about getting ready for the chaos that is coming and the trials that are yet ahead and the persecutions. And so instead of running from what is going to be coming, we need to prepare now. We need to prepare. We need to pray more. We need to fast more. We need to get more into our word. We need to seek the Lord and be ready to overcome any and all trials that could come our way. What if the day of tomorrow they come to your home and they say, you have to get this vaccination or you're going to go to jail? What would you do? You have to get this vaccination or we're going to behead you. What are you going to do? Many people think they are ready for the return of Jesus Christ and they're ready to go through all the trials, but we have not been tried like our ancestors were tried. The disciples and the children of Israel and in the time of the desert and all the trials they went through, and they went through all those trials, and then when it came time to go into the wilderness, go into the promised land, they still did not make it. Can you imagine being 40 years in the desert and never getting out of the desert, dying in the desert? You know why they died in the desert? Because they didn't learn their lesson. They did not learn their lesson. God was trying to refine them. God was trying to use this opportunity to bring change into their life, into their mind, into their heart, into their attitudes. And they did not learn. And all the people that ended up going through the wilderness died in the wilderness. They never got to the promised land. Let us not be like the children of Israel. Let us be like the two witnesses, Joshua and Caleb. I love referring to them as the two witnesses because they are symbols and prototypes and representatives of the two witnesses who are leading correctly the people of God into the promised land. So let us know there is a difference. The mass of the people of the Israelites did not make it into the promised land. Only those who were of the mind and the heart of Joshua and Caleb. Let us be like them. Let us have a right attitude. Let us learn from our mistakes. Let us grow through all of the trials and overcome our bad attitudes that we may make it into the promised land. 2020, year of deliverance. Look at the book of Esther and the timing of Purim and the timing of the world global pandemic through the World Health Organization, how that is connected, and look at the timing of Hanukkah and the timing of the wedding of Esther in the 10th month. Deliverance 2020. I pray you are blessed. This is Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people, the sign of his coming revealed.